News Weekly. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 139 in year 3, and it is one of those weeks where there's not a lot of content, but I'm sure we'll put out a 2-hour show because it's what we do. If I sound a little weird, I am recording in a new spot this week. I am house sitting for my brother. So, I don't know if there's an echo or anything like that. I am in a pretty spacious room, so
yeah,
we'll
it
see.
sounds
But,
pretty good. I will go ahead and
awesome.
warn listeners as well. I have my dog next to me, so if he ends up getting up, you can definitely hear him panting. But yeah,
Yeah, this is a Batman News Weekly on location this week. So we're all kind of all over the place. But we're going to change things up this week because we are going to knock out the comic reviews first because comics suck this week. We only had 2 things. I Am Batman and Suicide Squad Kill Joker, or I don't even know what the title is anymore.
yeah.
They're both awful. Like I couldn't finish I Am Batman because I missed the last issue because it was that one time when I was not I was rushing for the podcast, so you read a majority of the books. So
Yeah.
I was already confused. And like we'll just start off with I Am Batman. In this book, Jace apparently, I guess, got bested last issue by the main guy.
It was that dude that had like that weird like Casey from freaking TMNT type mask and the freaking iron.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he got bested by him and it kind of got him down in the dumps. And here it was so stupid because in the very beginning of the book, he's like, basically, I'm a bitch and I need to go
Yeah.
show my dominance to somebody else. And he goes and he grabs
very
this
Joe
dude.
Rogan.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah.
jumps on this dude with a motorcycle and
Yeah.
just beating the shit out of him. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course the police show up right away and they're like, "What are you doing?" And he was like that you disarmed that guy. And he was like, "Blah blah, you guys work for me, I don't work for you." And like just being very aggro. And I'm like, okay, I was like, Batman has anger issues every once in a while, that's fine. I hate the line that the detective was all like, "You're supposed to be the greatest detective. Why aren't you detecting?" And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne is the greatest detective. Just
See,
because there's multiple Batmen doesn't mean that they're the greatest detective. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, and I would definitely know the difference because they've already said in New York the Batman is in Gotham while
Yeah.
Batman is in New York. Like
Yeah.
you already know there's a difference. So why would you say, "Oh, you're the greatest detective"?
Yeah, I don't
It
know.
doesn't make any sense.
It's dumb. So that was dumb. Then there was this, I guess something happened with the mayor and he's shady now. And he said the most political bullshit that just made my blood boil. And he was all, as a public servant, you can lose the vote of everybody but the police. And I'm like, that is the most corrupt politician bullshit I've ever heard. And I fucking hate it because it's so true. Like
Oh yeah.
you will see one side always pick the police because they're like, oh yeah. And I have friends in the police, in like the fucking law enforcement, and they're exactly like that. They pick the guy that backs the police. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? I was like, you have kids. You don't give a shit about your kid's future. This guy supports the police. I'm just like, bro,
It's
granted, I love the
stupid.
guy, but still, we don't have to agree on everything. But yeah, like that was such the most crummy shit. And I also hated that the Fox, because that's his mom, right? That's Lucius, or not Lucius, that's Lucius's wife, but Jace's
Yes.
mom.
Yeah.
So she's all like, we're about to invest billions into this city. And I'm like, Bruce Wayne's billions? Like, what
They
the
still
hell?
have not. We have said this time and time again, and I know that listeners are probably tired of us saying this, but
Yeah.
that money needs to go back to Bruce because they're not doing anything actually supportive of what Bruce thought they were going to do with that type of money.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And Bruce
At
didn't
the
even
same,
think they were going to take his money. They just said,
yeah.
hey, hold this. You can have this because of all of your work at freaking Wayne Enterprises.
Yeah.
But like, he never said, hey, you could take my money and use it as you will. At least I
Yeah.
don't remember him saying that.
And what also doesn't make sense to me is the idea that Bruce and his woman is Catwoman. She would know how to do this as well. They know how to move money. Like
Oh yeah.
they are the smartest people when it comes to solving these kind of things. They know how cartels and all these people move their money. They should be able to move their money to an account that Bruce would have access to. Like, you know, makes no sense.
So here's a question for you, because I don't know how or if they will do this, in because we are seeing some weird things happen, as far as like, are they rebooting, are they just like soft rebooting or whatever with this whole Dark Crisis thing.
Yeah.
Do you think there is ever a reality where Batman is like, I'm going to steal my money back?
That would be awesome. And what you could do, because people would be like, well, that would ruin the relationship with Lucius. No, what you could have is have Lucius go to Bruce at one point and be like, you corrected her wrong. Like, we were not doing what you expected us to do, and we allowed us to have a problem. And then just have Bruce forgive him. Just be
Yeah.
like, hey, you've been we all make mistakes. I've done things that you didn't agree with, and you've done things I don't agree with. I was like, how about this is just a new start? And we
Yeah.
do that. And yeah, I don't. That would be cool. It's something that hasn't been done. It's I always hate this idea that good people always have to do good things. You know what I mean? Like, I like the flawed things
Yeah.
in people. You know what I mean? Probably why I like Tom King so much. I hear Drew raging. What's up, Drew? But anyways, that's why I enjoy that type of content. You know what I mean? Because everybody's flawed. I hate the idea of the picture perfect, superhero. Probably why I like Batman, because he fucking fucks up a lot.
Yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, I would like that kind of story. But going on with this book, it got to a point where I just stopped caring. He goes to visit his sister in like the what do they call it? The rehab center.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, "Why you're supposed to be my support system? Why are you being so glum?" And he's like, "Nah, I'm just thinking about stuff." And at that point, I just stopped reading and I just started skimming through it. And
So
yeah,
I lasted a little bit longer than you.
okay,
So, because at one point I feel like I started to just turn pages to look at panels and then maybe read
yeah,
every other piece of dialogue or whatever. So, what happens after this is he talks to somebody that he met in the Second Son book that was digital
okay,
only.
yeah,
So in that book, he went to like this like private school that Lucius sent him to, for basically for like bad kids.
yeah,
And this woman that he meets is like, you can definitely tell that it'll eventually be like some sort of love interest in the future.
yeah,
Um but he's like, "Hey, you know about killing people, so can you, kind of give me an insight on this character, on why he would be doing this?" Of course, talking about the guy that he, whooped his ass or whatever. And
yeah,
so she's like, "Oh, well, he has a lot of influence of this person, and it's like an artist."
mm,
And I really don't like this part of the book, because I understand there are plenty of stories, plenty of good stories, in fact, that have that moment that a character knows something just because the main character needs to know that information. And you're
yeah,
like, ah, that's a
yeah,
little too convenient. That's what this was. It was more of like a, hey, here's information to just push the story forward. And you don't really like his investigating, him detecting is being handed to him instead of him
yeah.
actually doing stuff. So that's what I didn't like about it. And
Like the
she's like,
Batman.
"Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly like the
yeah,
Batman." Um but in here she is talking about how, like, oh, this one artist, he was attached to some murders, but nobody could really prove that it was him. But the reason why is because a lot of these murders were influenced by some of the art pieces that have been displayed in this museum, and they like walk around in a museum or whatever.
mhm,
And then we get to see the two problematic officers that we had seen like two issues earlier, how they're
yeah,
like, oh yeah, these two, one's a pencil pusher but also a really big problematic like, there was two characters that were introduced very like offhandedly, and they just
yeah,
showed the panel, they weren't really doing anything there. Well, they showed them here, in this book, and they're off like trying to find this dude still.
Mhm.
While the guys at the very end of the last issue, there was like 3 or 4 officers that are like, "Hey, we're gonna put the law into our own hands because the commissioner died
Yeah.
in the last issue." So there's some rogue officers that are wanting to just go out and kill this guy. And so you can clearly see how these two teams, the clean cops, quote unquote, and the dirty cops are going to probably have a conflict over trying to capture this. I wouldn't even say supervillain, but this
Yeah.
new dude in New York City. Well, this all comes down to them finding uh, this like paper mache type of collage in this
Uh-huh.
abandoned warehouse that people think that is the home base of this villain. And you start to learn that okay, he is also like Batman because that's what he said, and he wants to kill corrupted people. Well, the person that is on the collage of this paper mache thing is the mayor.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
saw
that's
that.
that's that's how the book ends. So it was very on the nose in the very beginning of this book. So it wasn't really a surprise when you turn the page and see his face plastered on that wall, you know?
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
it this book I wouldn't say this book is like urban legends yet to the point of like
Mhm.
we can let it go,
Yeah.
but I can feel it probably getting there in the next 3 issues if it doesn't pick up.
Yeah, especially if like I don't finish the book. You know what I mean? I think that's the biggest sign of just something that you're not interested in is you just choose not to finish it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I say we've stayed on this book way longer than we probably should have, to be honest. But we wanted to keep giving it a chance.
Well,
But
we
you
wanted to
know,
give the New York Batman a chance,
yeah, true, true.
and it's clearly not going in a direction that we thought it was gonna go. So
Yeah.
I don't see us keeping this book on for very long.
But I don't think Jice Batman went in the direction we wanted to go to begin with. Like we were expecting some big social justice type of issue with this Batman, which you could have easily done, and it would have kept the whole stigma away from Batman having to deal with that. Since there are fans out there that get so upset about DC having an agenda, it's like, all right, well, we created, as you guys constantly tell us out there, why don't you just create new characters and do these stories with them? Well, they did, and we thought it was kind of going that way, but then Ridley just changed direction and didn't even deal with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened there. But anyways, let's move on to Suicide Squad, Kill Joker, or whatever the fuck this book is called. I don't even care at this point.
Oh
Um,
man.
because what happened in this? You know what, Clay? You want to know something I didn't like about this book? For the
What
first
was that?
time, I was so shocked. I hated that Harley Quinn was in underwear and shit in this whole book. And I know that normally I'd be like, yeah, you know what I mean? Because I'm just fucking, that's the way my brain works. But I was so annoyed. Like, I was like, why is Harley in her underwear? I was like, I know she was just a stripper, but like, this is comic books where people can jump into a full layered costume in seconds. Like,
Yes.
Harley could have easily been back in her costume, but they kept her in her underwear the whole fucking comic book. And I'm like, all right, that was just randomly annoying. Um, at, it turns out that the Suicide Squad doesn't even know the other people that were attacking them.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? They're the original Suicide Squad. Like,
Juice, here's
oh,
here's the biggest problem with this, okay? And I know that it falls on us to be prepared for this podcast and to be prepared for the books that we read. Do
mm-hmm.
you know how long it has been since we've read issue 2?
I would say at least, I don't know, last year.
Last year.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Last year we read issue 2.
That's insane.
Reading this, I had no clue what the fuck was going on.
I remembered that the Suicide Squad showed up at the end of the last one, and that was it.
That was it. All I remember is I remembered, oh, Peacemaker is here.
Yeah.
Cool, they're putting him into another book. and that's all I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I remembered Harley stabbing Joker as well. I had remembered that. But they
Oh
re-show it
yeah,
in this book. They
yeah,
re-show it in this book. So, yeah, this was really weird because Suicide Squad, who was supposed to kill Joker, ends up teaming with Joker to fight this other squad. And essentially, people are just dying left and right because they're being shot at this whole time. And they end up saving Joker, getting him away. They're still being shot at. Plastique, I believe what her name was, the girl that explodes, ends up getting shot up. And she's all like, throw me at them. So they throw her at one of the vehicles and it blows up the vehicle. I thought that was kind of cool. And then they get to of course an amusement park,
yeah,
and it's Joker's area, and Harley's like, I'm not going in there, and they're like, oh come on, don't be a bitch, like let's just go
yeah.
in there. She's like, I'm not going in there.
She's like, what she say? If you go in there, you're dead.
Yeah,
And I would much rather live. And I think it was freaking what's his name, War Dog or whatever his name is like,
yeah,
hey, sugar tits, like we need
yeah,
to freaking. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on in this freaking
yeah.
book,
Well,
man?
they changed his whole persona
Yeah,
in this book. They made him like white nationalist type of dude. Which if it's an Elseworld, I guess you can run with that. But yeah. So they go into this thing. Turns out Joker's a foster parent to a bunch of random kids.
that was actually really fucking creepy.
Yeah,
Um, Having all of these kids in white makeup, giant red smiles, I was like, in some like we've all seen the Batman Beyond Joker Returns,
yeah,
and like remember how creepy Tim Drake looked as
yeah,
a kid Joker? That's all I could imagine with these kids, and I was like, oh
yeah,
fuck. And what
yeah. It was
happens
kind of
to all these
random.
kids is even more fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, and that's another thing that I had an issue with. The other Suicide Squad team
Hmm.
had absolutely zero dialogue in this entire book. 50 pages. And
Yeah.
that other team had zero dialogue. They even fight Peacemaker, and he doesn't say a damn thing.
Yeah, and they fought all the children too.
They
Like the
killed all the
children ran
children.
it. Yeah, which is pretty crazy. And which is funny. I'm always like, man, I want to see some kids fight, like get in fought and beat the shit out of. I last night because I wasn't feeling good, so I turned on a movie. I watched Tropic Thunder again. And I forgot about the scene at the very end when he's running across the bridge. He's like, I'm gonna go save my son. And he comes back and the kid's stabbing him. He chunks him off the bridge. It's so funny, dude. Oh, fucking Tropic Thunder is a fucking an American
Uh,
treasure. But yeah, that shit was fucking great. Anyway, so yeah, this Suicide Squad or the other Suicide Squad that they don't know about kills all these kids, and I guess they escape again, right? There was this random part where Red Hood had to fight Pebbles because he was like, "I'm not giving you the fucking control thing, man. You're not a leader or
because they're
whatever."
still they're still fighting over who's gonna be the leader of this group.
Yeah,
And honestly, Jason Todd is the only one giving orders. So like
yeah,
you assume that it's him, but I guess this device was the device that had all their brain bombs or whatever.
yeah,
And so they fucking break it and they're like, "Oh shit, we're all dead. We're all dead.
yeah,
We're going to die." And then like time passes and nothing happens and they're like, "What the fuck?" Like
yeah.
did we all just like we were all just bait to begin with and all of this? So I don't know who wrote this.
I hope it's not Azarello. I don't think it is. It Azarello? Because if it is, this is not his best work.
Yep, Azarello wrote it.
Yeah.
I look at the credits right now. It's
Yes.
Azarello with Alex Maleev on art. Uh, I I didn't get this story whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, and
Well, the
because
ending is the worst part, right?
yes, so they give you this like Inception type ending.
Yeah.
How did
Which
you?
this has happened multiple times in Black Label now
Yep.
because it happened in I think was it the Harlequin one or no, it was the other Azarello story, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The Birds of Prey. Why did he do that twice?
So I I I get the feeling, which is really stupid because the whole point of these Black Label books is that they're darker and you can tell stories that you can't tell in continuity.
Yeah.
So, which would mean these are actual like Elseworld worlds out in the multiverse.
Mhm.
So, you could tell a complete story beginning to end. Anybody could die and it wouldn't affect anything.
Yeah.
So, why give you this like, oh, you'll never know? Like you have to you get to choose. Did Jason shoot Joker? Did
Yeah.
Joker shoot Jason or did Jason shoot himself?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
because
I'm like,
what ends up happening
why?
here is they get away, or a lot of the characters die, and Harley is just there with Jason. She saves Jason. She ends up coming through in her fucking underwear, judo chops this, or like Hurricane Rana's this guy's neck, and he dies. And Red Hood, they have a conversation, and he's all like, "Thanks for saving my life," and she's all like, "He's on the beach, but you know, I'm not going over there. You can go over there, but I'm not going to do this." And he goes over there, talks to Joker, and he's all like, "Man, the crazies have taken over the asylum." I'm like, "What? Joker saying that? Like, it's so weird." And he was all like, "If you want to kill me, go ahead. I don't care." He was like, "There's only one bullet in this gun, by the way." But he's saying it in a way to kind of like let Red Hood know, like, "Hey, man, it's not going to get better for any of us, you know. So you can either kill yourself or you can kill me. But one of us is gonna have to deal with this shit, forever until we're both dead." And so you just see a blam, and the whole book ends. It ends with the Suicide Squad kind of closing in on them, and you don't see if Joker died or Red Hood died. And I think you were saying like why people do this. I think this is the Killing Joke syndrome. I think everybody wants to be the Killing Joke. They want to write something that was supposed to be an Elseworld that was so good that it got turned into main continuity, which is very rare. Like it's so rare that that happens.
Yeah.
But it's also because of, if you go read Alan Moore's original scripts, Batman did not kill Joker. Like if you go read his original scripts, it's plain as day. But there was a theory. I don't think it was Kevin Smith, but it might have been on a Kevin Smith podcast where it was somebody originally. I don't know if this was the original artist or not. Was talking to the podcaster, and he was all like, "Yeah, this happens." He was like, "Oh, do you think Batman let him live?" And they were like, "What? Are you trying to say that Batman killed Joker in Killing Joke?" He was like, "Well, I don't know. Go back and look at those things. Like, I mean, he was laughing and then he wasn't on that final panel. Did he live?" And they're like, "Oh fuck!" And ever since then, like, it's been this big thing in comics
Debate.
that
Yeah.
Batman killed Joker. And I think that's what everybody wants to do, and I think that's why they leave with these Inception moments. And I just don't think it's always the best. Like you have to have a really, really good story and then end with that.
Yeah.
That's how Inception did it. You were like, "Oh shit, dream within a dream within a dream." This is just a story. Like I didn't. There wasn't anything there for me to care that Jason wouldn't kill Joker or vice versa. Like it made no sense.
Yeah.
Um, it was just all over the place. And them not knowing who the Suicide Squad is was so dumb. Why would you even do that? They're like, "These guys are stone cold killers." Like, okay, yeah, they're the Suicide Squad. Like, how do you not know? How do you not know Rick Flag? Like, Rick Flag was there killing kids. Rick Flag,
Yeah. Rick
like,
Flag, Deathstroke was there. Like I
yeah,
don't understand like the prim like I just don't understand why you make it that dramatic, you know?
yeah.
Especially
I don't.
like cuz he was calling this other dude Jason was and he's uh like the guy was like, "Oh, this that's the Suicide Squad." He's like, "I thought we were the Suicide Squad." He's like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, were." And I'm like, "Uh, okay."
yeah,
And again, this whole thing with the brain bomb thing, and again, you need to write something in order to make it extra dramatic, right? But in my head, I'm just thinking, if it's Amanda Waller, she would put brain bombs in their head. She may
yeah,
not have it in like maybe one, so that way she can keep manipulating them in certain ways. But like, you just set off all the bombs and kill everybody, wipe, bring in another
yeah,
team. You know,
yeah,
it didn't make sense.
yeah. And there
It
was like
was a
this little
very
thing
messy
of
ending.
the original Toyman being there,
Yeah,
at the Jester place, and like I don't know, man. It was just Azzarello's best work has not been on Black Label, which is crazy. Um, Although he did do that one with Lieber Mayhew that was really good. I forgot what it was
Yes,
called.
the
Damned.
that was
Well, Damned
the
was good.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was the last good thing he did, I think. So,
Yeah,
and then
honestly.
he babysat Frank Miller on that awful fucking Superman run or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but anyways, that's it for comics. It was garbage this week. So let's move on to questions. We got some in Discord and we got some in YouTube, I believe.
Yes, so let me go ahead and grab the YouTube question. It is from our friend Raphael. He says, "Hello, I have not read the comics this week. I hope there are some good ones. I was listening to Clay Mann's interview. Very, very interesting. I am
Yeah, we
not
didn't watch
going.
this.
Oh, that was the one from the
Bat Force. I haven't got
Bat
around to
Force Radio.
listening to it yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he says, I am not going to ask you what your first Batman comic was, but rather ask you if you have always been attracted to the character in the same way, or is there a movie, animation, or book that changed the way you looked at him or your vision of him? Using myself as an example, I used to think he was cool, uh, but didn't love him, so to speak, until I saw a little story called Working Through the Pain from Batman Gotham Knight, an anime movie. I won't
Hmm.
spoil it because I don't know if you've seen it. That story made me change my entire outlook about him. It made me see this character is deeper and richer than I imagined. So I have seen that anime. Technically, it is
Is it the one with
actually
Bane? Where he's like,
no,
it's
no,
a
no,
scroll and shit, or no? It's not that one, is it?
no, no, no,
Where
no,
he
no, no,
turns
not
into a
that one.
bat and a scroll and shit?
No, no,
Okay.
no.
I haven't
It's
seen it then.
actually on HBO Max. If
Okay.
you if you watch it, it's an anthology of stories, and the whole thing from beginning to end is technically the bridge between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. So it's
Okay.
supposed to establish like more of the Batman mythos within the Dark Knight trilogy. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, very, very interesting. Um, Working Through the Pain was quite possibly my favorite out of that whole anthology. Probably one of the better animation styles in that movie as well. But very, very cool. So, Juice, what do you think? Was there something that changed your mind about the character other than just like always being in love with him, or what?
I mean, yeah, I don't think I was always in love with Batman, but I grew up with Batman though. So like it's very hard to discern like when you fell in love with something when you grew up with it, you know what I mean? Because like I can tell you that Dragon Ball Z is still my favorite anime from when I was a kid. Like,
Yeah.
and I started watching that in middle school because I would run home. Granted, I would run to my grandfather's car and then run out of the car and run home and run into the house, but to catch it right when it was coming on. And I'd be like, yeah. And I watched the same fucking episodes over and over. And that's where I think my, I guess, love or just tolerance of watching the same shit came from. And I
Yeah.
think everybody does that. But I've watched Friends from beginning to end like 20 times. Like it's I can just leave it on in the background. I just watched all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies again.
Oh
And
yeah, I
I'm just
saw
like,
you
yeah,
talking about that
yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah.
Discord.
And I just love watching stuff. I love watching stuff that I already know what's gonna happen, but I'll stop at moments and be like, oh, this is that part. And so when it comes to Batman, I grew up with the animated series, and I thought the animated series was phenomenal. But at the same time, I was also watching Spider-Man animated series. I was watching X-Men, and so I was just into like watching superhero stuff. It wasn't until I read Hush that I think I fell in love with the character. And the reason why is I was never a person that bought comic books, but I was dating this girl at the time, and I must have really still liked Batman at that time because she started buying me Batman shit. And I think the
Mhm.
only way your girl ever is going to buy you something like that is if you talk about it or she knows that you're into it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I was playing the games a lot at the time or what, but she ended up started buying me Batman stuff, and she ended up buying me. She went to like half price books or something like that, and she bought me a bunch of comic books, and these happened to be Gotham Central. So I was just like, huh. I was like, okay, these are. She just bought me like cool cover art. And I was like, this
Yeah.
is cool. Let's go back to this place where you bought these comics and see if there's any more. And I went and I checked them out. I bought a majority of the Gotham Central whole series, like
Nice.
from this place. And then I was like, she was really into reading, and so we went to like Barnes and Noble, and I was like, let me go check out the comic section. And I don't remember if she bought me Hush like for maybe my birthday or Christmas or something like that, or if I bought it during one of these like Barnes and Noble or Borders was a thing at the time,
Yeah.
Borders runs, and I just ended up falling in love with it. I was like, just to think that something could be so like, everybody thinks of movies like Seven and shit like that when it comes to detective and crazy shit. I read
Yeah.
that in a comic book that was Hush, and I was like, oh fuck, like the twists and turns and the mystery, and I was just like, holy shit. And it had a little bit of romance. When he fought Superman, I lost my fucking shit. Like it blew my mind because I had never known that they had fought before. I don't really even remember thinking about the Dark Knight at that point. I might have seen art from that, but I had never saw Batman fight Superman. And this is when he's punching him with the kryptonite ring. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, oh fuck! And so I just thought it was fucking phenomenal. And that's where I fell in love with Batman, I think, if I had to pinpoint. But I've always liked him, so you know.
I can tell you two instances where I thought like, oh, this is who Batman is, and I
Mm-hmm.
dig it. So, my dad's side of the family, or just my dad, is a huge Superman fan,
Yeah.
and he got me into Superman. And of course, my older brother was into Superman because of it. And when we lived together when we were in high school, we unfortunately had to share a room, but he had Superman bed sheets, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
fine, if you get Superman bed sheets, I'm getting Batman bed sheets. And so I always started like I wasn't even into Batman, but I
Yeah.
started to pretend that I was into Batman just because I was like, oh well, if you like Superman, I have to like Batman. He's like, shut up, no you don't. Superman's better. Just why don't you just agree that Superman is great? And I was just like, no, no,
Yeah.
Batman's better. Like look at his bed sheets, they're better than
Mm-hmm.
yours, and like just pissing him off the entire time. So my dad was like, okay, if you're gonna actually start reading these things, let me get you some of these trades. I read the novelization of Death of Superman, The Life and Death of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And in the actual, it happens in the comic, but in the novelization, I think it's worded a lot better. At Superman's funeral,
Mm-hmm.
you see everybody carrying the casket, but you don't see Batman. And then you see this guy in the side of like, because it's like a parade type of thing for this funeral, and you see a
Yeah.
guy just like standing next to a building, and he's being really shady, and he has a bomb attached to his chest, and he's like, I'm gonna blow this whole thing up, gonna ruin Superman's parade, and it's gonna be great, and everybody will remember my name. And all of a sudden he gets
Mm-hmm.
freaking grappling hooked and pulled all the way to the roof, and you see Batman, and Batman was like, this is Metropolis, this isn't Gotham.
Yeah.
If it was Gotham, I would beat the ever living shit out of you.
Yeah.
But because it's Superman's day, I'm gonna let you live. And then he disarms the bomb and lets him hang from the building, watching
Hmm.
Superman's funeral. So I was like, that's pretty badass. And
Nice.
then the second time that I got like a good idea of what kind of character Batman is Infinite Crisis, where the Trinity, Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman, are talking about some things that are about to happen. And Batman gives the famous line, Superman, the only inspiration you gave people was when you were dead. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh shit.
That was a
Okay.
hardcore line.
And so I'm like, okay, so this is a character that is a hero, but is not afraid to like stand up to people who are bigger than him.
Yeah.
And that's what I really enjoy about the character of Batman. Of course, I didn't really get into Batman comics until I started this podcast, but I was still reading stuff.
Yeah.
It was because of you that I read all of Snyder's New 52 run and the craziness of the Court of Owls and things like that. But honestly, it's the small little snippets that I got before all of that of just him, you know, in Hush going
Yeah.
toe to toe with Superman. Like that is fucking badass.
Yeah.
So I would say Death of Superman and Infinite Crisis were the two books that opened my eyes to the character of Batman.
Nice, nice. Good shouts. Good shouts. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Discord. Which Clay, do you have any? I mean, I think the people want to know, man. What's been going on?
I
Huh?
have been slacking, slacking, and I am sorry, guys, because the thing is, I use the reminders app on the iPhone,
Mm,
and I need to learn how to spread some of the reminders out because if I have two or more reminders at the exact same time, they just stack and I
yeah.
only see the top one. I don't see any of the other ones.
Mm,
So I say BNW listener questions at 12 p.m. But I
yeah.
also have like, oh, read the comics for this week on at 12 p.m. also. So I'm like,
Mm.
well,
You got to put
shit.
it at 12:15 or
Yeah,
12:30, something like that.
exactly, exactly. I
Yeah.
need to spread them out just a little bit so that way I can see them all. So I usually just ignore it because I'm seeing other notifications rather than the question one. And then
Mm,
I get the notification either you or
yeah.
Ethan last week, and I'm just like, oh shit. So the call for questions have been coming out a little bit later. That will not happen next week. I am going to be in my new office. I will be a little bit more comfortable at my desk and everything, basically in the old groove that I was in. So it'll be a little easier for me to jump on that. So, first question was from, if I remember here, is oh gosh. Well, it was from this is gonna be a part of the news, but because we're doing
Yeah.
questions first, um, Bats asks, "What is your thoughts on the Nightwing Fortnite glider in Gotham Knights?" We have a lot of questions regarding Gotham Knights today.
Yeah. Initial thoughts, they all look kind of weird. Like Jason jumping on Spirit Soul Energy or whatever, fucking weird. We're gonna talk a lot about it, so I don't want to say too much, but I will
Yeah,
say the
yeah.
Fortnite thing does look kind of. It looks very Fortnitey.
I did not even think about it until somebody put a side by side to it, and I was like, "This."
Oh,
I was just like, "Why would you do that to me?
yeah,
Why?" Because I would even like just change it to instead of a glider, put it on his back, like put a
yeah,
jetpack on him or something. Because
yeah.
now that I see it, I'm just like, that's gonna bother me so much. Do you know what's gonna happen now? They're gonna put that glider in Fortnite.
Oh yeah, yeah, one hundred
Yeah.
percent. Um, I mean, there's a lot of opinions on that game, so we'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later for sure.
Yeah,
So the next question is Red Hood. How do you feel about being late, Clay? I said, I am immensely sorry, Red Hood. He says, nah, but for real, if you had to choose one good thing about Tynan's run, except the art, specifically Tynan as a writer, what would it be?
damn, you
I,
took
I
away the easy answer.
no, there's one easy answer that he kind of left at the wayside until like random issues. Uh, Harley Quinn. For some reason, he was able to
Oh
write Harley
yeah,
Quinn
yeah,
perfectly.
yeah.
Um, Almost at the beginning to his run to the end of his run. But the thing is, she only was there in spurts.
Mm,
Uh, Instead of trying to make Ghostmaker a thing, he should have made Harley Quinn a little bit more of center stage because I
yeah,
would have
I
enjoyed
agree.
that.
Yeah, I thought at the start of this he was going to make Harley Quinn part of the Bat family, and you could say that he did, but not the way I think he should have. And I thought he was going in that direction, but she kind of just did her own thing after a while. And granted, that's probably what Harley would do. Um, but yeah, I just thought it was kind of weird. But yeah, he wrote her so well, and I'm not gonna lie. And I said this right at the start, and unfortunately, people are trying to make everybody else stick around except for this character. But I said that what's her face? Oh my god, what's her name? The
Miracle
girl.
Molly.
No, the other one. The bad one, Joker's girlfriend. Um,
Oh, shit.
yeah, I
Um,
forgot her name. I don't know why I keep saying Peacemaker, but it's like It's
No,
not. It's
okay, so
Jester
there's Miracle Mo
Joker.
oh, shit.
I'm genuinely blanking on her name right now.
I don't remember her name.
Yeah. Anyways, that chick. I said she was gonna stick around. That was gonna be the one thing that people cared about or remembered. Um, but yeah, it's like
Well,
on the
not
tip of my
anymore.
tongue, and it's annoying. Yeah, it's like, does it have to do something with cards? I don't remember if it has something to do with cards. Um,
Hold on.
Jester, blah blah blah. I
Let
don't
me,
fucking remember her name.
okay, hold on.
But
Oh, by the way,
uh,
since we're kind of talking about it, Juice, if you want to, Multiverses closed alpha is signing up right now. Up
oh,
to
are they doing
uh
that still?
yes, they are. I made 2 accounts, so hopefully I will get chosen. Um oh shoot, what is her name?
Punchline. It had something to
Punchline.
do with. I was like, I just typed in Joker's girlfriend. Harley pops up first, and then it's punchline. Punchline. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess there goes my theory of everybody remembering her. But no, I think her design was really good, and I think what they were doing with her was interesting. I wouldn't say it was
Mhm.
fucking iconic, but yeah, Tynan. The thing that sucks about Tynan's run ultimately is it had a lot of potential
Yeah.
and he just shat the bed. Because I have said it and I will say it till the dawn of time. And I would tell him to his face if we ever got to have a conversation. But freaking what he could have done with the designer could have been the next Hush. And he fucking shat all over that by making a
Yeah.
Joker. Um, and it sucks. The designer was just a filler to get to Joker War, which was unfortunate. And you
Yeah.
would have thought he would have learned from Daddy Snyder that you make your arcs for themselves and not to feed another arc, because that didn't really happen with Snyder.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so there is that. I think that answers that question right there. Next up, we have Charlie, and Charlie says, "You're writing Batman, who is it? Okay, you're writing Batman, who is a throwaway character you're creating solely to kill off."
So
What?
I would
So
say we're not going to give original characters because Juice
yeah,
eventually wants to actually write for Batman, and I
yeah.
know some of those details. So instead,
Hypothetically,
let's.
what kind of character would you create? Like, just this, if you had to do something on top of your head.
I would probably see because we're.
Would you
I was.
introduce them early and kill them at the very end, or would you do it within an arc?
I think the characters that I like to see that eventually die, you need to have a connection with. So
Yeah.
I don't want to create a character to kill them on off of on the same page or like just
Hmm.
a flip later on a
Yeah.
page turn later. So I think I would introduce them early on. Get because I mean, eventually you will hear if audiences are actually caring about that character or not.
Yeah.
Um, but the hope is okay. People are agreeing with this character. People are wanting this character more and more, and that's when you just pull the rug right from under them and just be like, nah, they're dead.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. 12 issues is good enough, as we learned earlier this year. So, or was it 10 issues? Might have been 10 issues.
It
How
was
long
10
was.
issues for the House of Gotham.
Yeah. Okay. 10 issues is all you need, people. Um, but yeah, I don't know if. It's very hard because, yeah, I would love to write Batman someday. So I definitely have some ideas. And I have some characters, and I don't think I'm at the point I'm like, do I want to kill them off? But I have thought about it. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of just what you do. Like, I've never liked the idea, because the thing is, I think it's kind of stupid in comics where people, they're like, oh, we got to create these characters to stick around for a really really long time because I want to make money off of them. If your character's good enough, people are gonna still make statues and shit out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And somebody along the line, since you don't get to own these characters, is gonna bring your character back if it was good enough.
Yep.
Which blows my mind that Phantasm never came back. Like, Phantasm must have been on like the S tier, like, you do not touch these characters, because how have we never seen Phantasm in the comics is insane.
I could see them being like, no, you cannot touch that character.
Yeah, because you
Or
couldn't do
maybe
that
it
with
was,
Doctor Manhattan. Like, he was like S tier for a long time.
oh yeah. I wonder if it was more along the lines of like a Bruce Timm saying, "Hey, your writers can never bring this
Yeah,
character to the comics," you know?
yeah. Hmm. Which is nuts. And I hope again. I guess we didn't really talk about it in the Discord with anybody, but the idea of Tom King, we assume we won't find out till this last issue, which they're really promoting it as like the final like wedding issue. So I don't know how much we're gonna get solved, but if she died, I really like that because then it's like, all right, nobody should be able to use Phantasm anymore. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she got used in this one series and that's it, which is what they should do with Joker, but they won't. You know what I mean? Um, and I wish Joker would just go away for a while. We've said that a million times, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think I can really answer that question, but I do think that I would create some characters if I had to pick somebody that made something. I've always said that Clown Hunter should have died. Clown Hunter was the perfect character that you could have built up. He could have been a spunky kid that wanted to save Gotham and help because of whatever he wanted to do, goes up against Joker and dies, and he's just another inspiration for Batman.
You know what? Clown Hunter could have been the first The Kid,
Yeah. Hmm.
because he's just this nobody kid that thinks he wants to be a somebody and then
Yeah.
gets absolutely slaughtered by the Joker.
Yeah. You
Like
should have.
that would have been like, "Oh
That's
fuck."
exactly how I would have killed him. And you could have focused on him a little bit more by having like little snippets every comic book of him fighting one guy and then fighting two guys and like saving somebody and being like, I'm going to rid the world. I'm going to rid Gotham of all you damn clowns. And like you could have had, the symbolism of him getting his ass beat and getting back up and being like, I'm still here. But unfortunately, we know that Tynion wanted to ruin everything Tom King did. So he wouldn't have done that. But
Yeah.
like that symbolism would have been so awesome because if you do a mirroring moment like that and you're just like, oh fuck, he's like a mini Batman that kills. But like you could have done that. And then of course Batman would go up against Joker. So you see fucking him going up the tower because Joker was in a tower, fighting his way up there and being like, I'm here to kill you. Like that's the way the book ends. Like I'm here to beat you. And then he fucking dies in the next issue. Would have been so good.
Yeah.
And then Batman arrives at that time, like, what the fuck, Joker? And he'd be like, oh, you're finally here. And then they do their battle. Like, but it would have been fantastic. But no, didn't. Like, we got some other bullshit. We got some random ass bullshit of Joker having a bomb tied around him with Harley shooting him in the face and some other bullshit. Like, I don't remember how that
Yeah.
went down.
Oh
But
god, yeah. It was
yeah.
fucking
So that's
wild.
what I would say. Sorry, Charlie. I couldn't really give you anything. I just don't want to throw out all my ideas. Um, we
Ethan
got
is
the
next.
Ponderer.
Yes.
Yeah.
After
Let's
seeing the
see.
disgusting gameplay of Gotham Knights and designs, what is your favorite suit for the Bat family? Basically,
Pick one.
Nightwing,
He
Red
wants
Hood,
one for
Robin, and
everybody.
Batgirl.
That's too
No,
much.
I'm gonna say Nightwing. Nightwing, my favorite costume for Nightwing, and it's quite possibly everybody's like least favorite. Is my favorite is the blue and yellow, like
Ugh. Gross.
70s disco suit. I love it. I don't know why.
Ugh.
I just love it.
Yeah, that's
I
so
hope
gross.
I hope that armor, that suit is in Gotham Knights because I
Ugh.
will wear it. I
That's
will wear
so
it.
bad. I mean, that suit's probably better than those weird Power Ranger outfits they gave them because those are disgusting.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, so it's so bad, man. Anyways, I will go with the like OG Red Hood. I like just the red helmet with the jacket, like solid classic Red Hood. None of this new bullshit that they're trying to do, make him look like an X-Men and have batons and shit like that. Why does everybody gotta have batons, man? What's up with batons? Like, I
It's
understand it
it's
for
it's
Nightwing.
the like Billy Club, like, hey,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be grounded and be able to scrap on the street. Like
yeah.
that's the idea, and it's
If
just like,
if Yeah, if I ever get a chance to ride Red Hood, in at any point, I would do that thing that I suggested before, where he should have a cachet of just joke bullet things, like just kind of alternatives that they're non-lethal,
trick
but
bullets.
they're
Yeah.
like, Yeah, they're like Arrow. I don't understand why Batman has. They've never done that. Like we've done all this crazy shit with Red Hood, but he's still just he uses rubber bullets. He says, but just have him do other shit, explosive bullets, all this kind of shit. I don't understand why you don't have that. With every type of weapon that's ever been made in the Batman universe, he doesn't have that kind of shit, which is weird. Um, so yeah, I would go Red Hood. What else? What else we got? We got Young. How would Batman feel if he met Ethan? Tired, I would
Oh,
say, because he wouldn't be able
poor
to. I
Ethan.
think Batman would end up being how I get eventually, where he would just ignore. He would just stop talk. He would side eye. He would just not talk anymore.
Have you ever? Do you know what it would be? You. Oh my God, Ethan. This would be Ethan's origin story. Have you ever seen The Incredibles?
Yeah, yeah.
Ethan would be Syndrome.
Oh, he would be right. Ethan would become a villain. I think so. Arwitz finally says top 3 places to eat. I'm heading to Austin in a few weeks. If you mean Austin, Texas, I would suggest there's this place called Gordo's, I think it's what it's called, and it is a burger place that has donut buns, and it's fucking delicious. They have a burger called the Ron Burgundy or the Burgundy, I think, or something. It's after fucking Anchorman, and it is a
Nice.
burger with avocado, bacon, and it has an egg on it. Oh, it's so fucking delicious, and it's made on burger dough buns. They had one here in SA at the Riverwalk, but they opened it right before COVID started, and then COVID killed it. So unfortunately, I didn't get to go visit this location, but I believe it's still open in Austin. I would go there. There's some nice sushi places in Austin, or I should say ramen places. I forget what it's called though. Uh, but there's so many places, man.
There
It all depends on
is
what you're wanting to do too, or what you're
there
interested in.
is either a ramen or a pho place in Austin that Abby likes to take me. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me right now.
Hmm.
Uh, shoot.
Yeah, I don't
Actually,
know. But there's a
uh,
shitload of barbecue places. Franklin's is you would have to get in line to try their food because it's super super popular. And I'm talking about you'd have to get up like at 6 a.m. or something like that to get in line, or
yeah,
7 a.m. I'm not too sure, but it is fire barbecue. It's pretty delicious. So I've had
yeah,
very
and
little of it.
I have not visited like big restaurant places in Austin, unfortunately.
Oh really?
Like the only time that I'm in Austin to like be in Austin
Hmm.
uh is usually for South by Southwest. So I'm right there on
Yeah,
6th Street, just like walking up and down, and I just grab whatever is there. Um or I'm like around near like the countryside of Austin.
yeah,
So I'm not like deep in the heart of Austin, unfortunately.
yeah.
Um but I have always heard that their Japanese and Vietnamese restaurants in Austin are amazing. So if you're into that, totally go.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute since we went. Me and Clay were actually going to go to Austin. Uh, was it the start of this year? We were supposed
Yeah,
to
in
go.
January, I was like, "Oh man, it's gonna
Yeah,
be my birthday weekend." We're like, I found a shop that was like really big into like manga and stuff, and
yeah,
like right before we were about to go, Texas was like, "Oh, record high for COVID cases," or like I was like, "Ah,
yeah,
shit."
yeah. It was pretty bad. I was also really poor at the time too, so I was like, "Eh, can we wait?" And then we just kept putting it off because it kept getting worse and worse. So we were just like, "Fuck it." And then Clay started moving and doing all this shit. So it's like, we'll do it when we do it. But yeah, so have fun in Austin. Hopefully you have a good time. So yeah,
Was
but that's
that
it for.
the last
I think that's
question?
it. I don't think
All
there was
right.
anything prior to that. So
Yeah, no.
um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, hold on, let's see. Hey, Clay and Juice. This is something from Red Hood said last week. I didn't know if you mentioned it on Batman News Weekly. I wasn't paying attention, but is there any guys you chance read the free comic book? Oh, I think we answered that last
Yeah.
week. Um, so yeah. By the way, I saw that Clayman posted. He was all like, So we're not getting Batcat this month because they're saying it happens in June.
Yes.
So, but he said FOC. He was like FOC on Sunday. What is FOC?
Uh, Final cutoff for
Oh,
pre-orders.
got
Yeah.
you. I was like, what the fuck's FOC? I was like, free comic book day? That's my dyslexia. But and I was adding a D in there. But and a B. So and a C. No, C was there. But anyways, that's it for viewer questions, ladies and gents. So now we're gonna move on to the news of the week, and we should have started the podcast off with this, but since we did it in reverse, I didn't. But the legend that is George Perez has passed away. I don't think we talked about this last podcast because I think it happened after.
Yes, it did.
So, unfortunately, we kind of already saw this coming. We already knew. We talked about it on the podcast months back that he was going to forego any kind of treatment and just kind of enjoy his last days with his wife. Yeah,
Yeah.
we talked about the idea of would if we would do that or if we would take the chance and just do the chemo or whatever. Um,
Yeah, it was because I mean he was diagnosed right off the bat with stage 4,
yeah.
so it's just like, oh shit, like
Didn't that one actor have stage 4 cancer and he's still alive? He's a really popular actor. He looks like Kevin Bacon, but he's not Kevin Bacon. Um, fuck.
there's
He's
an actor
was
that looks
very
like Kevin Bacon.
yeah, an old version of Kevin Bacon because he has long hair. You know how Kevin Bacon has that longish hair.
Oh, okay,
Like
okay, yeah,
I
yeah,
forget
yeah.
his name, but he's a very popular actor, and I'm pretty sure he's still alive. And he had like stage 4, like throat cancer, or lung cancer, or some bullshit. I think he's still alive. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would take any chance if there was one, you know. But I think George Perez was probably content.
Yeah.
I hope that one day I can be content, like that, because if we're going off current life expectancy for men in America, I'm halfway there. So I'm just like, I know,
Jesus Christ, that's
which is a
terrifying.
scary thing to think about. But yeah, so he seemed like he was content. He wanted to spend his last few days with his wife, and he passed away. And he is a legend. For anybody that doesn't know that, he's made some of the most iconic covers you'll ever see, and that will be used until the world explodes. So, yeah, I don't know, man. We wish the Perez family the best out there, and it sucks to lose another legend back to back weeks.
Yeah,
So,
if you guys don't remember, we talked about it very, very briefly last week, I believe. George Perez's birthday is in June, and so there
mhm.
will be tributes to him in the June released comics. They were planning this even before his death, so it's not like a gimmick to be like, "Hey, buy more comics for us." I mean, technically, probably is no matter what,
Yeah,
but it's a really cool thing. It has all of the characters that he, of course, created in that one tribute, as well as some of the big works that he put into, like building the DC universe.
yeah.
So that will be on the back of every single issue, I believe, in the books that are releasing in June. So if you have a book that you just really want, go grab one. I'm probably going to grab one just to at least have that
Is
tribute to
Marvel
him.
doing something too, or no?
I don't know if Marvel is doing something because he also did a
Boo.
lot of stuff with Avengers and everything else.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, didn't
uh,
he do the iconic power not power glove of fucking Gauntlet cover
yeah,
for Thanos?
and
Yeah.
yeah, the Infinity Gauntlet. Yeah,
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Marvel should do something. I mean, Marvel should do something because when Stan Lee died, DC honored Stan Lee. like, you know.
that is
So
also true.
I would hope Marvel would do something. But Feige over there, and oh fuck Perez, probably. I didn't create these things, so I don't care. Um, But anyways, another big thing that happened this week, which Clay has some insight to this, I do not because I did not listen to it. But Batman the Unburied podcast beat out Joe Rogan. I cannot believe this. Joe Rogan, who
That
gets
was
like a
very
million,
surprising to
yeah,
me.
million downloads a week or whatever it is. His audience is very large on Spotify. Batman beat out this Batman podcast beat out Joe Rogan, which I was shocked to see that headline. I was like, what? Pretty insane. I did not listen to this though. So
Like I said, I think I listened to about 3 to 5 minutes of the first episode,
Hmm.
and I was not ready for what this was. You had said in the press release they did announce that he was gonna be, uh, a specialist working in a morgue. I do not
Yeah.
remember that. So, like, when it started, I was like, "Oh, maybe he's, like, undercover, and this is just
Hmm.
all, like, a ruse or whatever." And then they went on to a conversation. There's always the classic, like, "Oh, you're new here, right?" And like,
Yeah.
there's this assistant to Bruce Wayne at the morgue, and so she's reading the report of this dead body and uh, talking about all the injuries and everything else. And Bruce is making comments on the side, observing the body, and he's like, "Oh yes, we got stabbed 60 times. Oh
Hmm.
yes, like we were uh lacerations were from when we got hurt doing this." And like, he puts himself in the position of the dead individual,
Okay.
and just the way things were going out there,
Uh-huh.
within that scene, I was just like, yeah, I don't think I was ready for this. This is weird.
Hmm.
This is like the verbiage of everything, and maybe it was like, I woke up at like 6:15 a.m.
Hmm.
and saw that it was on Spotify that early. Literally just got my headphones, put them over my head, over my ears, and just listened. And I was barely awake. So maybe
Yeah.
being completely coherent now, if I sit down and listen to it, I might get into it.
Hmm.
But I just couldn't get into that first 5 minutes, to be completely honest.
Okay. Yeah, I can't say that out of all the stuff I check out when it comes to Batman, that audio stuff is my first thing to go
Hmm.
to. It's probably my last. I'll play video games, I'll watch shows, I'll watch movies, I'll read comic books. Like audio adventures is definitely one of the last things because it's the only one that has no visual aspect, you
Yeah,
know? And I mean, I have a great active imagination, but sometimes I just, I'd pick music over, these dramas. Granted, I do like them. I think they're cool. I think it'd be something cool to throw on in the background. And I think the reason why I liked the other series, I forgot what that one was called,
the
but it's
Batman
like they were making it
Adventures.
like, yeah, like a 50 time, like, or 50-ish style where it had like the transitions and it
Yeah,
had the guy talking and shit. That was really fun. Like I thought that was cool. And if you just threw that on in the background while you're like cleaning or something, I think that might be something cool to listen to. But I don't know. I mean, it's again, this is just not something that's the first thing that's going to pique my interest.
yeah.
So I haven't listened to it, but I mean, if it beat out, I wonder why it's so popular. Like, is it because of the actor? Like,
Probably, to be
you
completely
know?
honest, I think that is a big draw to it.
Yeah.
The main villain is also a big popular actor as well. He's
Hmm.
from he plays a character on Harry Potter, I think. So I mean, it has a pretty big fandom. So I would assume that just the fandoms got together and they're like, "Hey, let's
Yeah.
listen to this," and then indirectly they're like, "Hey, f you, Joe Rogan."
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely, probably would not be surprised if that was a little part of it. Which would still be really weird though, because I highly doubt that that is a big part of it, but that's like a fucking maybe like 2%, because there are so many other podcasts out there that people could get behind to beat Rogan. But it is, if it beats the second week or the second episode. Is there multiple episodes of this?
So there's 2 episodes out now. I don't know if any more have come out since it started.
Okay. So yeah, if it were to week constantly keep beating, that would be very, very intriguing. That means it would should be probably really good, I would think. But anyways, so there is that news. But now let's go on to our main topic of the week, and that is Gotham Knights. Now, we were excited to see gameplay for this, and they had dropped that we were going to get some Red Hood and gameplay stuff a couple days ago. And it was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, that they showed this gameplay. And I forgot about this completely until I saw my Discord popping off, making jokes about this game, and seeing Ethan of all people in our Discord talking shit about the game. And I'm like, Ethan, Mr. Everything that Batman does is great. Gotham is the greatest show of all time. Which at the moment I don't know what Gotham is anymore. So go check out the Discord lore to find out what that makes sense about. But yeah, he was saying he's not a fan of it. But then again, Ethan also only ever plays one game in his whole life, and that is the Batman Arkham series. So like,
Yeah.
you're playing the best thing ever, and you're getting a spin-off of it. Spin-offs are never better than the originals, so you're already doing a disservice to yourself, I think. I will say, after watching the footage, there's a lot to comment about, but the fighting doesn't seem as good as the Arkham games.
No, it doesn't. I made the comment here on Discord. The fighting style of Nightwing alone
Mm-hmm.
uh seems a little bit more stiff than I would like.
Yeah.
Uh and the very unfortunate thing, I was making the joke about how the Suicide Squad is going to be going to be like the Avengers game.
Yeah.
This is starting to look a lot like the Avengers game.
That's what I thought too. And I was just like, ooh, and
And
I didn't buy that game.
the only thing that is different here is that Gotham looks to be, because it's only one, it's not like you're traveling to different maps.
Yeah.
It's just Gotham, and then the different corners of Gotham have different terrain depending on, like, if you're going to go fight Mr. Freeze, things are going to be a little bit colder, there's going to be snow and whatnot, blah blah blah. So like, you can get away with saying, "Oh no, this is open world," because it's Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
You're not
Yeah.
traveling to different parts of the world like you were in Avengers, having to do long load times and things like that. But the fighting styles, the way the items drop and you collect things, I will say this: the loadouts that they showed for
Mm-hmm.
Nightwing, I thought that looked pretty cool. You can have different types of, like, okay, I know I'm gonna go fight Mr. Freeze, so this armor is like it's freeze resistant. The I can add heat to my batons or do whatever. Like, I don't know if you can do that specifically, but I know that there are different aspects to each type of armor that you can put onto your character.
Yeah.
uh and of course they have different looks. uh so I thought that was pretty cool. But again, looking at the traveling of the character,
Mm-hmm.
Nightwing was okay until somebody said Fortnite. I was like, "Fuck you guys." I was even okay with Red Hood because I was thinking, okay, he was resurrected. That one, that within itself is a part of the, like, supernatural aspect of the Batman lore
Yeah.
in comics. So I was like, if they stretch that a little bit, I'm okay with this type of traveling. But now I'm thinking, what's going to happen to Batgirl and Robin? Because we've already
Yeah.
seen Robin has this kind of almost teleportation type thing. And we saw
Yeah.
that in the very beginning when they first debuted this gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
How, like, what kind of traveling aspect is Batgirl going to have?
I hope she has grappling because I already called dibs on Batgirl. So I'm like, yeah, I'm the only real one. Woo! So I hope she has grappling because it would be stupid that, like, I understand because you mentioned that if they all had grappling, that people would say that it's lazy, right?
Yeah,
They're like, oh, they didn't even try to make them different. I mean, you could have had the style of grappling be different. You know what I mean? Like the way they
yeah,
swing and shit like that. Um, but if none of them have grappling, that's gonna be stupid.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, but at this point, it doesn't seem like Nightwing or Red Hood would need any type of grappling because of the damn glider and powers that they have. But to be honest, we do play Horizon, and we see that there's a glider and grappling in that game.
Yeah.
So it could be something like that. Which that game feels more Batman than some Batman games because the way she
That's
grapples and does shit
yeah.
is pretty awesome.
The way you sneak around and stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Uh, I will say after this footage, man, I am a little on the fence. Um, I I mean, I don't pre-order. I don't really ever really pre-order games unless I know for sure it's going to be a banger. And there's like some good, perks to ordering. Um, I might wait 24 hours and see what happens, or there'll probably
The
be early
last
reviews.
the last minute, like,
Yeah, I mean, I'll wait and see what happens. Like, there's gonna be reviews that come out early, right? And dude, I think if this thing is like anywhere close to 70, that means it's a bad game.
oof.
Because 80, anything in the 80 range, that's good, that's decent. But 70, I think just games like this, people are gonna be like, "Well, it's Batman, so it's kind of fun." I think there's gonna be a little bias there,
Yeah.
and so that means it's worse than it is. And yeah, I don't know, man. I will say I'm a little worried, and I wonder if this is why Suicide Squad delayed it. They're like, "Yo, we look
They
too much like this other game,"
it
and
I think it's funny that we're talking about this because Discord is still popping off about this right
yeah,
now. They're talking about the pre-order bonus, which is the bat cycle that everybody gets in the game, um,
yeah,
regardless of if you're Nightwing, Red Hood, you know, Tim Drake, Robin, or Batgirl. Uh, I The problem is with me in video games, especially with my nerdum. If it's superhero related, I'm always gonna play it. Is
okay,
is the problem that I have? Because I'm just like, these are the games that I enjoy, so I'm gonna definitely play it. I was gonna go digital deluxe if they had it.
hmm,
Seeing this, I may go the route of Horizon. Um, Horizon, I did not pre-order until about 17 hours before the game was available.
okay,
Um, so I will also be waiting as well. Uh, I think it'll be, okay as far as like, the pre-order bonus of the bike or whatever. I was, well, there is another pre-order bonus if you get, I can't remember which version, but I showed you guys the costumes for that pre-order,
yeah, yeah, that was
and
bad.
it looked very like symbiotic. It was very weird. Venom-esque for everybody, almost robotic also. Don't know what they're doing with that kind of
Yeah,
it I
it's called
hope that
boosted gear, I think, or
I'm
beyond
really
style suits is what they're calling them.
I'm really afraid that uh, these guys looked at the market of that of Fortnite, of
Hmm.
Warzone, of everything else. They're like, oh, well, we can just start releasing costumes, and people will just buy the costumes, and
Yeah,
we'll make our money that way. And people need to stop looking at those games for inspiration. You need to start looking at Elden Ring, because Elden
yeah,
Ring came out with a full feature game that people were playing 100 to almost 200 plus hours and not
yeah,
having to like be burnt out on it. Like,
yeah,
if
yeah.
if you
It's
can give me if you can give me an Elden Ring type of Batman game with all those
mhm.
villains and stuff, that would be fucking amazing.
That would be awesome, to be honest. And maybe this is why Gotham Knights isn't connected to,
The Arkham
the
series?
Arkham games, because they were like, yeah, we don't want to be associated with that idea that y'all have over there. So maybe this is why it's not going to happen. Although it does feel super connected because they're still kind of like Batman's died or whatever, which is what happened at the end of the Arkham series. But yeah, man, I don't know. And unfortunately, Kevin Conroy has confirmed that there is nothing in the works because you have to start working on that stuff years in advance, and he hasn't been talked about or he hasn't been told anything. I mean, and if he was, I mean, I guess they could be doing something without him, but I doubt they would, because he was the voice of all those, anyways. But for the most part, man, yeah, this is gonna be a wait and see thing because I will say the first trailer that came out when we saw it looked cool. Like when Batgirl was fighting Mr. Freeze and stuff, like that stuff looked interesting. So maybe they just showed the shittiest stuff they could.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
Nightwing did
again, I
not look
I
great.
I told who I think I told Ethan, I was like, one and just everybody in Discord in general, I said the very first words you see on the screen when you start to see the footage
Mhm.
is uh in progress. So
Yeah.
you know that that is like, hey, if people don't like this, we can always change it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
But
That's the big
at
promise.
at the moment, there is a release date for this.
Yep, October
Will it
25th.
get pushed? Is what I'm curious about. Um, but at that point, how do you save it? You know what I mean? Like, you can only do so much. You'd have to redo the whole game. They can only
I
change
mean,
so much.
I think like honestly, if you were to change the glider to the glider he had in uh Batman the Animated Series, where it was almost
Mhm,
just like the pole that you hold on to and it was the glider, I would be fine with that. I mean,
mhm.
I think gliders have just been so much associated with Fortnite now that no matter what kind of glider he has, they're gonna be like Fortnite.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, again, I think it was Red Hood that was like, just give Red Hood a motorcycle to go
Mhm.
around in, and then once he needs to get on a building, let him grapple.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't need to do aerial travel for
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
And if that's the case,
Yeah.
I may not even use aerial travel for the entire game if I decide to be Nightwing. I'm just like, I'll only use it when it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah. There's definitely gonna be missions where you have to do that. The like going up to cars and pulling people out and fighting them look kind of cool.
Yeah.
That looked interesting. So hopefully there'll be more good things than bad things when it comes to the gameplay of the game. I think at the end of the day, you just want a game where you can beat the shit out of people, and I think that's what hopefully we'll get that. But yeah, I don't know, man. It is, I'm not as excited as I want it to be. That's all I'll say at the end of watching that video. But I think that is all we have, ladies and gentlemen. There's no breaking news while we're recording this at all. But yeah, Clay, what do you got going on for this week, man?
This week, um coming up on Star Wars Alliance, we are reviewing a book called Kenobi. It is a Star Wars legacy book that is in preparation for the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series that we're going to be reviewing Friday, uh, on the Friday that it drops. On DC, it seems like there is new slash old slash I don't even know kind of news coming out for Urza Miller now, or
All right.
Ezra Miller. Um, apparently, the reason why he got into these fights were over NFTs. Um,
What?
y- yeah, that's new information. I guess we might be talking about that. Um, but there really isn't been a whole lot of news for much of anything. So just keep an eye out on my Twitter account at Fanboy Clay on Twitter. And I'll let you know what is coming up on some of my podcasts.
Interesting, interesting. I am currently, as I mentioned at the start of the podcast, house sitting for my brother. I will be here for another few days until Sunday, and I'm just trying to record a bunch of fucking content while I'm here, and I don't have to bother my family at my old house, or at my house is what I should say. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm going to be doing all week. We're going to try to have a Friday the 13th stream tomorrow if we can, but anxiety was not my friend yesterday during stream, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, just come hang out, check out the channels. We're just always posting stuff. I may or may not be posting this on the same day that it gets recorded. So yeah, whatever you just heard should be factual information from Clay. But yeah, that's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. As always, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome.